Meanwhile, back in Washington, the White House says it is now considering a task force to guard ships in the Red Sea from Iranian proxy forces after 3 international commercial ships were attacked 4 times. Over the weekend, the USS Keane, which was responding, shot down 3 drones linked to Iranian-backed Houthi rebels during those attacks. Here's White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on that.
We have every reason to believe that these attacks, while they were launched by the Houthis in Yemen, were fully enabled by Iran. We are in talks with other countries about maritime task force of sorts involving the ships from partner nations alongside the United States in ensuring safe passage of ships in the Red Sea.
Joining me right now is Fox News' senior strategic analyst. He is chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane, back with us. General, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. What is your assessment of the response to Iran, and how should the United States be responding after this weekend of attacks causing the USS Keane to respond?
Yeah, great, Maria. Certainly, I'm delighted to hear Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor to the President, finally mention the word Iran associated with proxy activity in the region. They've avoided using that word for all of those attacks that have been committed against U.S. bases by Iranian proxies from Iraq and from Syria. And now this Houthi attack is enabled by Iran, as were all the other attacks as well. So in my judgment, a couple of things need to be done here. Certainly, the defensive measure to organize a naval task force to protect commercial shipping in the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea, in these vital navigation trade routes, that's absolutely the right move. We've done it before, multiple administrations, and it has been successful. Second thing, though, that's defensive. If you want to stop the activity, you've got to step up and get offensive. And that is clearly go after the Houthis who are firing these rockets and missiles and drones. We know where they're coming from. We know where the drones are. We know where the people who are shooting them are. We know where the missiles and rockets are. Take a lot of that down and make that very painful for them. And then let's follow up on the word enabled by Iran that Jake Sullivan suggested is behind all of this, and hold them accountable. We have plenty of targets that Central Command can provide to the administration. I doubt they're going to do that, but it's something they should have done weeks ago when the when the Iraq and Syria proxies upped their game against the U.S. bases in the region. Well, but yes, the initial step with the task force is a move in the right direction.
I mean, does it feel to you like the U.S. and Iran are getting closer to some kind of an escalation here?
Well, I think the United States should escalate. In other words, to shut them down. Right. And yes, this is the calculation. Many people think, well, if you do, then we're leading to a war with Iran. But when you look at and analyze that 43-year Iran history, that's not the case. They use proxies because they don't want to be involved themselves. If they get directly involved with the United States, they lose their regime. They know that. So that their escalation, I think, would be very minor because they want to avoid war with the United States.
Well, I want to move on to Ukraine, but I also want to get into the NDAA and get your perspective there, sir. But first, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy is going to address U.S. senators at a classified briefing later today. They'll talk about the war, the need for another round of U.S. military aid. It's ahead of the procedural test vote on President Biden's $106 billion supplemental spending package tomorrow. The package includes more than $61 billion for Ukraine. The White House is warning that it's going to run out of Ukraine aid by the end of the year if lawmakers do not approve the additional funding. And we're also quite worried when we hear things like, we're running out of money, we're running out of ammunition. Watch this.
Congress has to decide whether to continue to support the fight for freedom in Ukraine as part of the 50-nation coalition that President Biden has built, or whether Congress will ignore the lessons we've learned from history and let Putin prevail. It is that simple. It is that stark a choice. There is no magical pot of funding available to meet this moment. As Director Young said, we're running out of money, and we are nearly out of time.
Your reaction, General?
Well, I think aid to Ukraine is essential. I think we can do both, certainly. I mean, national security for the United States begins at the border. And this thing that's been going on here for 3 years now is a disgrace. So certainly moving in that direction to provide some measure of security at the border is absolutely the right answer. To anybody that's concerned about that, as most Americans are, I certainly agree. But Ukraine funding is essential. When he's saying we're out of money, is that there's no more weapons that we can provide to Ukraine. What American people have to understand, the reality is the center of gravity for Ukraine to be where they are today, their ability to defend against the Russian attack initially last year and to retake territory, 50% of the territory they've taken back. That's all due to U.S. and European assistance. If that stops, Putin wins. And guess who else wins? China wins, and so does Iran. That's the reality. We see now how joined at the hip these three countries are. We've got to take a look at a strategic view at this and recognize that U.S. vital interests are involved here. Putin will not stop if he prevails in Ukraine. We already see he has plans for Eastern Europe, and that would directly involve U.S. troops. Let's stop him now with Ukraine troops and our military assistance. It makes much more sense.
Well, the world has become so much more dangerous in the last couple of years, in my opinion, and you have called this out through the NDAA in the past. You've been critical of declines in defense spending, flat performances in defense spending. So now we've got the annual Pentagon policy bill once again at hand, the NDAA. It's been a vehicle for other policies, but in the Fiscal Responsibility Act, it increased defense spending by 3.2%. That was pretty much flat or even a decline when compared to inflation. What are your thoughts on the priorities for this current NDAA policy bill out of the Pentagon? How would you assess the numbers for defense spending, General, in this environment where the world has gotten so much more dangerous?
Well, it is just not even close to where we need to be. We know during the Cold War we needed about 6%, and that's where we are now. I mean, two wars are going on in our vital interest areas, Europe and the Middle East, and President Xi is threatening a war. We have got to get a defense budget right, finally. And the administration has got to change its priorities to do it. And that's where the rub is. They don't want to take away from the domestic priorities to fund defense adequately.
Yeah, that's right. And you've called that out for so long. And now here we are sitting in a position where the U.S. has a smaller Navy than the Chinese Navy, which is something you've pointed out over and over again. General, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you, sir.